The 7 levels of Marvel characters' ultimate forms explained. Level 1. Peak Tech. Bleeding Edge Iron Man. Tony Stark crossed a line the day he stopped building armor around his body and started integrating it inside himself. The bleeding edge lived under his skin like a swarm of obedient metal cells, waiting for a single mental command. One second, he looked like an ordinary billionaire with a hangover, and the next, he was wrapped in a weaponized exoskeleton that could morph faster than even he could react. This was Tony at his most extreme point of innovation, an inventor who got tired of being surprised by the universe and decided to turn preparedness into a biological function. The transformation started after extremists rewired his physiology. The experiments didn't make him superhuman, but they opened the door. Tony needed a version of the armor that could appear instantly without relying on storage pods, briefcases, satellites, or remote summons. So he implanted nanomachines into his bones and designed a new mental interface that reacted to impulses before he consciously processed them. The bleeding edge was a second nervous system. Once activated, the armor spread across his body like liquid metal, adjusting shape and density depending on the threat. In a fight, it created bladed constructs, repulsor amplifiers, energy shields, or complex tools within moments. It also stabilized his organs, filtered toxins out of his bloodstream, and kept his vitals at peak performance. Tony used it to fly higher, hit harder, and calculate faster. There wasn't a single field, physical, digital, or atmospheric, where this suit fell behind. Every aspect of him received an upgrade. There were moments where this armor turned near disaster into survivable chaos. In battles involving beings way above street level, the suit adapted on its own, shifting defensive layers and managing impact absorption long before Tony finished the thought. His fight against the drone swarm in the early days of the armor showed how fast it worked, reshaping midair and countering dozens of threats simultaneously. During high-stress scenarios, the suit broke down incoming data and predicted patterns like a living supercomputer. Yet the bleeding edge wasn't just about combat. Tony built it as a response to guilt, paranoia, and responsibility. After Civil War and the many times he felt caught off guard, this form represented his attempt to eliminate uncertainty. He wanted armor that never left him, armor that couldn't be stolen, hacked, or destroyed without taking him with it. In a way, the bleeding edge reflected the state of his mind: ingenious, overclocked, restless, and always preparing for a disaster that hadn't happened yet. Level 2. Event God Tiers. Daredevil, God Without Fear. The moment Matt Murdock lifted Hofund, the Sword of Heimdall, the entire Marvel universe tilted on its axis. One second, he was a blind lawyer from Hell's Kitchen trying to survive, the madness of the War of the Realms, and the next, he had the awareness of a cosmic sentinel. Heimdall had fallen, the realms were burning, and someone needed to carry the responsibility of sight. Out of every warrior on that battlefield, Matt was the one chosen to shoulder it. The sword didn't repair his human eyes, gave him perception that stretched far beyond anything he'd ever felt before. Matt suddenly sensed events happening across continents and realms as if they were unfolding inches from him. His radar sense, normally limited to a few dozen feet, expanded into a universal signal. The sounds of Manhattan blended with the cries of Asgardian soldiers, the movement of frost giants, and the shifting of distant battle lines. Everything poured into his mind at once, yet he found a strange clarity in it. For the first time, Matt could navigate without relying on echoes or environmental cues. His awareness formed a complete picture of every threat, every ally, every hidden danger. He could predict ambushes, identify weak points in enemy forces, and coordinate troops with a confidence no mortal should possess. Warriors who had lived through centuries of conflict found themselves following the commands of a man who once had to count steps just to cross his own apartment. During this period, Matt fought creatures far beyond the usual thugs and assassins he met in New York. Frost giants, dark elves, and monsters that towered over skyscrapers all landed on his path, and he engaged them without hesitation. The power of Hofund hardened his strikes, strengthened his body, and enabled him to stand in battles where even experienced gods struggled. He wasn't indestructible, but his awareness gave him an advantage that no amount of armor or muscle could provide. The most surreal part of this transformation came through responsibility rather than raw power. Matt felt the emotional weight of Heimdall's role. Every scream, shifting battlefront, and injured civilian filtered through his senses. He understood how heavy that cosmic burden was and how lonely it felt to be aware of things ordinary beings could never comprehend. This experience marked him in ways no supernatural upgrade or brief godhood had ever done before. Eventually, the war ended and Matt returned to his normal life. The power faded, Hofund passed to its rightful place, and the overwhelming cosmic perception slipped away. Yet the experience shaped the way he approached heroism afterward. He understood the scale of the universe in a personal way, even if his powers no longer reached that far. For a brief era, he stood far above his usual weight class, carrying the responsibilities of a guardian who saw everything. Level 3. World Breakers. Worldbreaker Hulk. There's a point in Bruce Banner's life where the Hulk stops being a rage-driven force of nature and becomes something closer to a natural disaster with consciousness. This version formed in the fallout of Planet Hulk after the betrayal after the explosion that took everything from him. The green force that walked out of that tragedy wasn't the Hulk people recognized. This one carried grief that hardened into pure destructive pressure. Every step generated enough gamma output to shake landscapes. Every breath felt like volcanic heat pushing through the air. The Hulk had reached the stage where his anger translated directly into seismic force, and the planet reacted to him like it was facing a walking fault line. When Hulk arrived on Earth during the World War Hulk storyline, the tone of every scene changed the moment his feet hit the ground. Heroes didn't gather to fight him, they gathered to survive him. He overpowered armor, magic, and science with a single-minded certainty. If something stood in his way, it simply collapsed. He absorbed punishment that would cripple cosmic-level beings and walked forward without breaking stride. This was one of the rare moments in Marvel where characters with world-saver reputations genuinely panicked because they had no fallback plan. The Hulk had gone beyond the territory of strongest on Earth. He had become a pressure valve the planet could barely contain. This stage also brought a disturbing level of clarity. The Hulk wasn't rampaging blindly. He was precise. He took down the Sentry, Iron Man, and the Fantastic Four with strategic focus. That control created something more dangerous than raw power. It gave him purpose, direction, and momentum. The Hulk's sheer presence warped the environment around him, cracking city blocks and destabilizing structures. At certain points, the energy radiating off him made the ground tremble, as if the planet was reacting out of instinct. Even by Marvel standards, this level of force pushed past the line where physics could keep up. Then there's the iconic display of destructive potential in later stories, where the Worldbreaker's energy output is measured on a scale usually reserved for catastrophic natural events. The shockwaves alone represented extinction-level danger. There's no embellishment needed. Writers treated this form as a planetary endgame, a version of the Hulk that didn't simply overpower enemies but made the Earth itself feel fragile. Trion Juggernaut. In another corner of Marvel reality, Kane Marco unlocked a form that barely resembles the unstoppable tank people know. The Trion dimension exposed him to a complete channeling of Cyttorak's power. His usual form is already difficult to stop. This version expanded that concept far beyond physical barriers. Trion Juggernaut radiated dimensional energy that let him break through boundaries that aren't meant to be touched, ripping open spaces that existed outside normal geometry. This wasn't an accident or a temporary surge. Kane tapped into forces that altered his scale of impact. Instead of crashing through buildings or mountains, he pushed through the edges of entire dimensions. The artwork and narration from this era didn't frame him as a bigger bruiser, but as a cosmic battering force capable of tearing open spaces that remained untouched since creation. It's the kind of upgrade that makes the concept of unstoppable feel narrow. While Juggernaut normally operates through direct force, Trion Juggernaut carried energy that extended beyond his fists. Even reality struggled to redirect him. Heroes facing him realized the issue immediately. This wasn't a Juggernaut you outsmart, redirect, or trap. This one had no containment point. His path cut through dimensional partitions, and even attempts to obscure or warp space around him failed. Level 4. Cosmic Forms. Cosmic Spider-Man, Enigma Force on Earth 13. There's a moment in Marvel where Peter Parker stops swinging between buildings and starts operating on a scale that makes skyscrapers feel like tiny set pieces. When the Enigma Force bonded with him, the entire concept of Spider-Man shifted. His spider sense expanded far beyond danger detection and turned into a form of cosmic awareness. He could read energy patterns, track disturbances across vast distances, and sense threats that operated outside normal physics. The grounded neighborhood hero suddenly stood among cosmic guardians. In the 616 universe, the Captain Universe power-up turned Peter into something close to unstoppable. He held criminals in the air like they weighed nothing. He manipulated energy, fired blasts strong enough to erase threats instantly, and moved with speed that made his usual agility look like slow motion. This version of Peter showcased how much responsibility he carried when the universe itself placed its trust in him. Then there's Earth 13's Peter Parker, the one who kept the Enigma Force permanently. During Spider-Verse, he acted as a beacon of stability in a reality full of collapsing timelines and multiversal hunters. His presence alone changed the tempo of battle. The Inheritors, creatures that spent entire arcs hunting spider totems across worlds, treated him as a final boss. He stood as a cosmic anchor for an army of alternate spider people, using power that radiated like a star behind a mask. This version represented what Peter could become when the universe amplified his best qualities. Binary Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers's binary form came from a transformation that rewired her connection to the universe on a stellar scale. After being experimented on by the Brood, Carol tapped into the energy of a white hole. That connection turned her into a living conduit of cosmic power. The glow around her reflected the amount of sheer energy pouring through her body at any given moment. Binary Carol survived in the vacuum of space without effort, and her output reached levels capable of scorching fleets or powering star-sized reactions. Her physical strength increased far beyond her Captain Marvel baseline. Binary Carol lifted weights that surpassed her usual feats, moved at high cosmic speeds, and redirected energy strong enough to shake celestial structures. She became a one-person star reactor with a direct pipeline to cosmic fire, and the form came with emotional intensity, moments where the clarity of her mission outshined everything around her. In deep space conflicts, Binary acted like a flare that turned the tide immediately. Even though this form wasn't constant, whenever Carol accessed it, the entire battlefield shifted around her. The binary transformation symbolized an evolution rooted in trauma and resilience. It pushed her past the boundaries of human limitation and placed her firmly in the cosmic hierarchy. Black Vortex Kitty Pryde. Her cosmic ascent remains one of the most unexpected leaps in Marvel. The Black Vortex offered characters a chance to evolve into their ultimate forms, and when Kitty accepted, she gained a transformation that changed her relationship with reality. Her phasing ability expanded beyond simple intangibility and became something that touched cosmic structures. She phased through planets without harming them, repositioned celestial bodies, and navigated space with effortless freedom. The shift in her powers wasn't the only dramatic change. Her perspective evolved. The Vortex granted her a level of understanding that made her think differently about how matter flows and how space responds to intention. Her form glowed with cosmic patterns, and her movements carried a sense of weightlessness that went beyond phasing through walls. She became someone who could slip through dimensions and influence objects that normally required god-tier intervention. Black Vortex Kitty marked the point where a normally grounded mutant stepped into the cosmic arena with complete confidence. Her transformation wasn't about aggression or raw force. It was about precision, evolution, and mastery over the fabric of existence. She operated on a level where the usual rules meant nothing to her, allowing her to slip past the limits other beings depended on. Level 5. Time Gods. Old Man Phoenix, Wolverine plus Phoenix Force. There's a version of Wolverine who stops being a brawler with claws and becomes something closer to a walking timeline. Old Man Phoenix came from a future where Logan survived almost everything that could break a mutant. Then, the Phoenix Force bonded with him, and the entire story of who Wolverine was shifted. He carried a cosmic fire that burned through solar systems, but the familiar scars and gravel voice attitude stayed right underneath. With the Phoenix, Logan's healing factor evolved far beyond physical recovery. He regenerated from catastrophic damage that would have ended most cosmic beings. In the distant future, he stood in battles where stars collapsed around him and kept going. His senses stretched into timelines, allowing him to perceive events across ages rather than moments. The Phoenix's connection to life and rebirth amplified his own history of survival, and together they shaped him into a guardian of cosmic cycles. One of his most well-known appearances happened during Thor 2018, when he confronted the Doom above all, a version of Dr. Doom who absorbed powers from Galactus, the Beyonders, and multiple godlike forces. Wolverine fought him across the ruins of existence. Even in those conditions, Old Man Phoenix held the line, channeling cosmic fire through the claws he'd used for centuries. Their clashes tore through time and empty galaxies, and Wolverine kept rising through injuries that should have erased him instantly. What made him memorable was the combination of instincts and cosmic firepower. Logan's combat style stayed fierce and close range, but now each strike carried energy that distorted reality around him. He traveled across ruined timelines, interacted with the last god standing, and became a figure whose presence signaled the final stages of entire universes. His connection with the Phoenix gave him longevity that spanned eras, turning him into a wandering force across the cosmic endgame. The Fallen One, Silver Surfer. Before the world knew the calm, silver-coated herald of Galactus, there was the Fallen One, a dark predecessor powered by antimatter. The Fallen One wasn't created from volunteers or deals. Galactus forged him as the first herald, but the experiment spiraled into something too destructive to control. His power didn't resemble the typical cosmic energy that fueled later heralds. It was harsher and ran on antimatter forces capable of destabilizing entire environments. The Fallen One became impossible to manage. His destructive nature pushed Galactus to cast him out, and the herald refused to stay gone. He spent centuries returning in cycles of retaliation. Each time Galactus defeated him, the Fallen One rose again, consumed by the same dark energy that made him dangerous. His powers let him travel at immense speeds, manipulate antimatter blasts, and survive deep cosmic conditions far beyond normal herald durability. Across the universe, the Fallen One became known as a rogue force drifting between battles with his creator. When Thanos intervened during one of these confrontations, he subdued the Fallen One and briefly turned him into a servant. The shift in allegiance didn't last long, but it revealed how volatile his power was. Even under someone as strategic as Thanos, the Fallen One remained unpredictable and driven solely by primal aggression and cosmic rage. His role in Marvel's hierarchy stands out because he predates the entire herald system that later included Nova, Airwalker, Firelord, and the Silver Surfer. His creation marked an early point in Galactus' search for a partner who could responsibly channel his power. Instead, the Fallen One turned into a reminder of an experiment that went too far. His fights with Galactus shook regions of space. His antimatter surges destabilized planets, and every reappearance echoed a cycle of creation and rejection. The Fallen One's legacy comes from raw power evolving without guidance. He operated across vast spans of time, re-emerging in eras long after civilizations had changed. That longevity placed him among Marvel's time-spanning beings, not through wisdom or cosmic insight, but because his existence kept looping back into the universe like a recurring wound. Level 6. Multiversal Beings, the Unseen. Nick Fury. There's a version of Nick Fury whose story shifted from spycraft and secret bases to the cold edge of the multiverse. The Unseen came into existence after Fury killed Uatu the Watcher during the original Sin storyline. Because of that act, the cosmic hierarchy forced him into a new role, one that stripped away his mobility, his freedom, and his identity. He found himself chained to the moon, transformed into an immortal observer whose duty was to witness every major cosmic event across every reality. The Unseen spent ages watching histories unfold without participating in them. The transformation gave him an expanded perception far beyond human limits. He saw timelines rise and collapse, universes fuse and fracture, and cosmic forces maneuvering across planes he never knew existed during his SHIELD days. That omniversal vantage point turned him into something closer to a cosmic recorder. He monitored realities where heroes lived different lives, worlds that branched from single decisions, and timelines altered by events no one remembered. His imprisonment wasn't passive. Fury influenced multiversal events by guiding heroes at key moments through subtle interventions. One major instance occurred when he summoned multiple versions of Wolverine from across the multiverse to handle a threat involving time-displaced killers. He also played a role in launching the Events of Exiles, 2018, sending Blink and other reality-hopping heroes into different universes to correct distortions. Through those actions, he became a node between worlds, never present physically, but always watching and directing. Yet the role carried weight. The Unseen witnessed destruction on scales he had never imagined. He saw Earths erased, cosmic beings rise in cycles of power, and timelines collapse under incursions. His consciousness expanded to the point where he could process events across thousands of realities, each unfolding at once. But unlike Uatu, the Unseen lacked the stature and reverence of the Watchers. His existence was shaped by punishment. That guilt added a grounded human layer to a role that dealt with multiversal magnitude. One storyline brought him face to face with the consequences of his actions. When a rogue Watcher named the Adjudicator attempted to eliminate corrupted realities, the Unseen was pulled into the conflict. His responsibility to observe intersected with his knowledge of countless timelines, making him integral to understanding how the Watchers shaped the multiverse. Through these events, he became one of Marvel's most unusual cosmic beings, a hidden guardian who saw more than he was ever allowed to change. White Phoenix of the Crown, Jean Grey. When the Phoenix Force seeks perfect harmony, it chooses a host whose mind can hold cosmic order without collapsing. That state, White Phoenix of the Crown, is the Phoenix's highest expression, and Jean Grey is the only character consistently able to embody it. In this form, she transcends dimensions while retaining awareness of her identity. She becomes a stabilizing force that manages the multiverse's energy flow, adjusting timelines and repairing distortions. The White Phoenix interacts with the White Hot Room, a metaphysical space sitting outside standard reality where the Phoenix Force governs creation cycles. From that vantage point, she sees every decision branching across parallel worlds. One moment can lead to universes diverging endlessly. As the White Phoenix, Jean has intervened to correct imbalances. In X-Men, Phoenix, Ensong, and New X-Men, her presence altered how the Phoenix Force reincarnated itself, shaping future cosmic cycles. Her ability to manipulate molecular structures, psychic states, and cosmic energy scales dramatically at this level. She has reassembled broken timelines, stabilized universes, and accessed knowledge embedded in cosmic memory. The White Phoenix also represents the Phoenix at peace. No destructive hunger, no internal conflict. Instead, she becomes the bridge between life, death, and renewal. Her decisions aren't emotional reactions, they're cosmic recalibrations. Across Marvel's multiverse, the White Phoenix is recognized as a universal constant. While many characters have briefly wielded cosmic power, few reach that point of equilibrium. Jean's connection to the Phoenix stems from decades of bonding, separation, and rebirth, giving her the rare ability to control forces that break most hosts instantly. God Emperor Doom. There's a moment in Marvel history when Victor Von Doom didn't conquer a country or a planet. He stitched an entire multiverse into one world. During Secret Wars 2015, the multiverse collapsed under a chain of incursions until everything dissolved except fragments of dying realities and Doom's willpower. He used the Beyonder's power, captured through a plan executed with Doctor Strange and Molecule Man, to fuse those remnants into Battleworld. God Emperor Doom ruled that world as an absolute force. He reshaped continents. He rewrote memories. His will defined the laws of physics in every region. Thor variants served as his police force, patrolling realities he held together through sheer command. Even beings like the Maestro and the Cabal were forced into roles within his patchwork universe. Doom stood on a throne carved from collapsing timelines, watching everything through the lens of someone who saw creation and decided he could run it better. His powers at that point surpassed nearly every cosmic being. He manipulated molecular structures on a multiversal scale, controlled weather patterns across worlds, and enforced stability through the underlying energy of the Beyonders. Even Reed Richards, who had matched Doom before, struggled against the scale of Doom's godhood. The turning point came when the surviving Reed from another universe confronted him. Their final clash centered on a philosophical divide between rebuilding and ruling. When the Beyonders' energy shifted back into Reed's hands, the entire structure of Battleworld unraveled, restoring the multiverse. Level 7. Reality Gods. Astral Regulator Thanos. There's a version of Thanos that moved past cosmic power, past infinity, and past every upper ceiling Marvel usually places on its strongest beings. During Thanos, the Infinity Conflict, he seized the Astral Regulator, an artifact created by the One Above All itself, meant to maintain balance across the entire multiverse. Once Thanos integrated with it, he operated on a scale that erased the usual cosmic hierarchy. The Regulator gave him access to the underlying architecture of reality. He didn't amplify his powers, he gained control over creation's operating system. With a single act, he removed the Living Tribunal, a being responsible for maintaining multiversal law since the earliest cosmic ages. Entire pantheons, Eternity, Infinity, Lord Chaos, Master Order, became irrelevant to his authority. He stood above them, adjusting the multiverse the way someone edits lines of code. Thanos used that position to reshape universes instantly. He erased cosmic threats before they were born, deleted timelines that diverged too far, and kept the entire multiverse functioning through his own judgment. He even confronted the Above All Others, a manifestation tied directly to the One Above All, showing how far he had ascended. For a brief moment, Thanos became the regulating force behind infinite worlds, but the story evolved. A different Thanos, one who had not embraced absolute domination, rose to oppose him. Their clash wasn't about energy blasts, but about who should define existence. Eventually, the Astral Regulator was taken back, restoring the multiverse to its original flow. Still, that moment remains one of the highest points of power any Marvel character has ever achieved. God of Stories, Loki. His most powerful form didn't come from magic, cosmic artifacts, or conquering realms. It came from stepping outside the story he'd been forced to play for centuries. Through Agent of Asgard and the Loki series, the trickster god reshaped his identity and ascended into something completely new, the God of Stories. As this version of himself, Loki no longer relied on illusions or mischief. His domain expanded into the metaphysical source of Marvel's storytelling fabric. He interacted with narrative space, a realm where continuity, memory, and destiny intersect. From there, he could rewrite the paths characters walked, revise events across realities, and step outside linear time. Loki gained an ability few beings ever touch: direct control over the narrative logic that shapes universes. He moved through timelines like pages in a book, seeing how alternate versions of himself were trapped in loops of betrayal and destruction. Instead of repeating them, he rewrote those outcomes. One of his most defining moments came when he severed his past from that cycle, removing the inevitability of becoming the villain others expected. That self-revision rippled outward, granting him authority over stories themselves. As the God of Stories, Loki doesn't manipulate matter the way cosmic beings do. His power changes meaning, identity, and the roles characters inhabit. That puts him on the same stage as the Phoenix's White-Hot Room or the Tribunal's Cosmic Courts, but through a completely different mechanism. He shifts the blueprint reality follows, altering the foundation of events rather than the events themselves. His responsibilities also expanded across the multiverse. He guided lost versions of heroes, interacted with cosmic forces that tried to contain him, and maintained the balance between chaos and narrative order. His perspective became omniversal, shaped by the countless possibilities he observed and curated. At this level, Loki reached a state beyond Asgardian godhood. He operated above cosmology, identity, and time, using the multiverse's stories as his canvas. And that's it. So, across infinite realities, which character do you think is secretly stronger than their ultimate form? Share your thoughts in the comments section below as you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.